This giant rock python in the desert, according to archaeologists, will rewrite our history. I assure you that you don't know anything about Africa if you didn't watch this video. This is a place where the ancient world intertwines with the modern. A continent with a population of over 1 billion people will shock you. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. Africa is a continent shrouded in a veil of secrets and mysteries, whose history is riddled with episodes both tragic and majestic. The slave trade became one of the most tragic pages in the history of the continent. From the 6th to the 19th centuries, from 10 to 12 million people were taken from Western, Southern, and Eastern Africa. This dark period left an indelible mark on the history and culture of African people, influencing the formation of the modern appearance of many countries. The diversity of languages and cultures makes Africa a unique continent. More than 2,000 languages and dialects speak of a rich cultural heritage and complex socio-cultural structure. It is a place where each ethnic group has its own unique identity, making Africa a veritable kaleidoscope of cultures. Of particular interest are the Khoisan languages, including the Bushman language with its unique clicking sounds. These languages may be key to understanding early human history, pointing to the possible origin of the Bushman as one of the first branches of the human family tree. Bananas and mangoes, often associated with African cooking, were actually relatively recent introductions. These fruits came from Indonesia along with migrants. In contrast, Africans developed and cultivated their own unique crops, including yams and wild rice, which is different from Asian rice, as well as millet and oil palm. It is also believed that the ancestors of today's African longhorn cows were domesticated here. Traditional beliefs and religious practices continue to play a significant role in the lives of Africans. The veneration of ancestors, nature spirits, and totem animals demonstrates a deep connection with nature and respect for ancestors. These traditions coexist with Christianity and Islam, creating a unique religious canvas. Witchcraft and magical practices remain an important part of African culture, influencing the daily lives of many people. These traditions are associated with belief in the power of the supernatural and the ability of man to influence the world through rituals and spells. Africa is also a region with high rates of diseases such as malaria and HIV. Despite significant progress in controlling these and other diseases, they continue to pose a major health threat on the continent. Africa is a world where the ancient meets the modern, where tradition is intertwined with the changes brought about by globalization and technological progress. It is a continent that continues to inspire explorers, travelers, and anyone interested in its rich cultural heritage and complex history. Africa is the cradle of humanity, holding the keys to understanding our past and hinting at the possibilities of the future. Heavenly stones. Among the vast number of meteorites that have fallen to Earth over billions of years, skystone, with its bluish tint and unusual oxygen-rich composition, is of particular interest to scientists. This space fragment, discovered in West Africa in Sierra Leone by archaeologist and geologist Angelo Pittoni in 1990, is shrouded in legend. Local residents believe that these stones were former celestial beings, turned into stones for their sins and dropped to Earth. Tests carried out in laboratories in Rome, Germany, and Tokyo showed that the stone consists of 77% oxygen, 20% carbon and lime, and also contains traces of silicon and other materials. This composition was recognized as unique and unlike other terrestrial samples, indicating the extraterrestrial origin of the stone. Carbon dating has shown that the skystone ended up on Earth between 2,500 and 17,000 years ago, becoming the object of a collector's hunt. Along with skystone, the Hypatia stone found in Libya is no less a mystery for scientists. Its chemical composition is different from anything found on Earth or in space. Hypatia is material formed before the formation of our solar system. Thus, skystone and Hypatia stone continue to attract researchers with their mystery and unique composition. Would you like to own one of these stones? Mysterious footprints. In 1978, footprints dating back 3.7 million years were found in Tanzania, providing some of the first evidence of upright walking in human ancestors. The discovery sparked a wave of interest in the history of hominins. Near this place, other tracks were found, which some scientists mistakenly mistook for bear tracks. A new study from Alison McNutt's team at Ohio University disproves this theory. The researchers returned to analyzing the tracks found at the Lake Toli site, known for its hominin print chains. The tracks were believed to belong to Australopithecus afarensis, to which the famous Lucy skeleton belongs. An international team of scientists decided to solve the mystery by re-excavating and examining 5 footprints. Comparisons with prints from bears, chimpanzees, and humans show that bears were unlikely to leave such tracks, given their mode of movement and stride width. Researchers observed the behavior of bears that were attracted to maple syrup or applesauce to walk on their hind legs. Observations have shown that bears rarely move in this manner, making the theory of a bear origin of the tracks unlikely. Analysis with chimpanzee tracks revealed similarities, but the morphology of the tracks indicated that they were made by a different species of Australopithecus, not Australopithecus afarensis. Thus, the study confirmed that the mysterious footprints in Lake Toli belong to human ancestors. Magic circles in the desert. For decades, scientists have puzzled over the origins of circular patches of grass in the Namibian desert that appear and disappear seemingly for no reason. Now it seems the mystery has been solved. These so-called magic circles, with a diameter of 2 to 10 meters, form an amazing pattern on the surface of one of the driest places on Earth. For a long time, their origin remained a mystery. There were 2 main theories. One associated the circles with the activity of termites. The second suggested the self-organization of grass to combat drought. Recently, scientists from the University of Göttingen in Germany proposed a new theory. They believe that the circles can form due to extremely rare and irregular precipitation. This causes the grass to grow at the edges of the circles, leaving the center lifeless, since it is the roots of the grass extending to great depth that allow the plants to survive and thrive in conditions of low water. This discovery not only reveals the mystery of Namibia's magical circles, but it also demonstrates nature's amazing ability to organize itself and adapt to changing environmental conditions. Ship with gold coins. An ancient sailboat loaded with gold coins valued at $13 million has been discovered in the mysterious sands of Namibia. A find of this magnitude in Africa is very rare, especially considering the antiquity and size of the ship. Archaeologists suggest that this is the Good Jesus, Bomb Jesus, a Portuguese sailing ship that sailed to India in 1533 with valuable cargo and disappeared forever. The fate of this ship remained a mystery for a long time, but apparently it became the victim of a powerful storm, which threw it ashore, where over time the skeleton of the ship was buried under a layer of sand. This theory is supported by the nature of the damage to the hull and changes in the terrain, which over time turned the seabed into part of the desert. As for the crew, they either escaped by getting ashore or drowned at sea. Only a few human bones were found. Interestingly, archaeologists found this ship before treasure hunters. This became possible due to the fact that the area where the sailboat was found is close to visitors due to diamond mining. The diamond miners were the one who stumbled upon the first traces of the ancient vessel. The discovery of the Good Jesus is of great significance not only because of the gold cargo. This ship offers a unique opportunity to learn more about the navigation of the Age of Discovery, about which little information has been preserved. Thus, the ship itself turned out to be more valuable than the gold coins found in it. Ruins of Gedi. The ancient ruins of Gedi, hidden in the depth of Kenya near the shores of the Indian Ocean, 16 kilometers from Malindi, are testament to the flourishing Swahili civilization that left its mark on the East African coast. It is assumed that the city, founded in the 12th century, reached the peak of its development in the 15th-16th centuries, when it was surrounded by fortified walls. Gedi had a population of about 2,500 people, highlighting its importance as a trading center. The lack of written sources is compensated by rich archaeological finds indicating active trade between Gedi and many countries. centuries. The ruins cover an area of 45 acres where there are mosques, a palace, tombs, and stone houses with decorative finishing. The city was famous for its developed infrastructure, streets with drainage systems and wells for water supply. However, the reason why the city was abandoned in the 17th century still remains a mystery. There are several versions, from the invasion of hostile tribes to environmental disasters. Gedi was rediscovered in 1884 by the British Sir John Kirk, after which it was designated a historical monument in 1927 and a national monument of Kenya in 1948. In 1969, the ruins became part of the National Museum of Kenya. In 2000, a museum opened next to the ruins, displaying unique archaeological finds and an exhibition telling about life in Swahili cities. Gedi remains a significant testament to African history and culture, providing a unique opportunity to learn about the life of an ancient society, its architecture, trade, and customs. The ruins of Gedi continue to attract archaeologists and tourists from all over the world, remaining one of the mysteries of the African continent. Stone Forest of Madagascar. Chini-de-Bemaraha is a unique nature reserve located 70 kilometers from the western coast of Madagascar, representing a majestic landscape of limestone cathedrals, towers, and canyons. This place, ideal for walking, takes its name from the local word chengi, meaning to walk on tiptoe, reflecting the sensation experienced when crossing this uneven terrain. The Chini-de-Bemaraha Nature Reserve is a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its unique geological formations and diversity of endemic plant and animal species. The Manambula River flowing through it is a source of life for wildlife. The reserve also contains pristine lakes and mangrove swamps that are home to native lemurs and birds, many of which are endangered. This reserve offers a variety of hiking trails, allowing visitors to explore its spectacular topography and immerse themselves in the untouched beauty of Madagascar's wilderness. Walking through the reserve reveals stunning views, hidden caves, and encounters amazing fauna, making visiting this place an unforgettable experience for adventurers and nature lovers. Chini-de-Bemaraha is sometimes called the Stone Forest due to its unusual landscape, reminiscent of a forest of stone towers, canyons, and cracks. These unique formations were created by millions of years of erosion and weathering, creating a surreal and alien atmosphere. The oldest dinosaur in Africa. A small dinosaur with a long neck found by a team of paleontologists led by specialists from the Virginia Institute of Technology, USA, became the key to new discoveries about the migration of ancient reptiles. Named Embericeras rathi, this sauropodomorph is the oldest dinosaur fossil found in Africa, living about 230 million years ago. It measured approximately 180 centimeters in length and weighed between 9 and 30 kilograms. The discovery was made in Zimbabwe and made an important contribution to understanding the geographical distribution of ancient dinosaurs. It was previously thought that Pangaea's climatic conditions limited animal migration, but the discovery in Zimbabwe suggests otherwise. The study suggests that dinosaurs may have spread further than previously thought. Embericeras rathi, despite its modest size, plays an important role in the study of the history of ancient reptiles, providing new data on the migratory routes and climatic conditions that contributed to their spread across the globe. Skeleton Coast. The so-called Skeleton Coast is a 40 kilometers wide and 500 kilometers long stretch of coastline in Namibia that is both hostile and fascinating. Here, the cold and unpredictable Benguela current of the Atlantic Ocean meets the dune-studded desert landscape of northwestern Namibia. The name Skeleton Coast comes from the huge number of beached whales, whose skeletons could be seen everywhere. The Ovahimba indigenous people of northeastern Namibia used whale bones to build their huts. Many ships have been wrecked off the Skeleton Coast due to thick fog, rough seas, unpredictable currents, and stormy winds. The sailors who managed to reach the shore had no chance of survival on this inhospitable coast and died of thirst. Despite the hostile nature of the Skeleton Coast, it is home to many wild animals adapted to life in the desert. In addition, some plants have amazingly adapted to the rainless conditions of the Skeleton Coast, relying solely on the daily fog from the Atlantic Ocean. Welwitschia, Naramelons, lithops succulents, often called livingstones, lichens, and pencil bushes grow here. African art. African rock art is an invaluable heritage that highlights the richness and diversity of the continent's cultures. From South African sand paintings to the enigmatic tessellate paintings of North Africa, rock art reflects thousands of years of history. The Sahara contains some of the oldest specimens dating back to the end of the last ice age about 12,000 years ago. Images of antelopes, giraffes, and other animals indicate the rich fauna of that time. Mysterious symbols and figures that combine the characteristics of animals and humans continue to intrigue scientists. In Central Africa, in the zone of distribution of the Pygmies, geometric rock art predominates, testifying to the ancient culture of these people. In Eastern Africa, in Tanzania, rock art consists of animals and humans is reminiscent of sand traditions but has its own unique features. To the south, across the Zambezi River, is the island of the Sand, where art dates back to the most ancient times. Sand rock art, reflecting the spiritual journeys and rituals of shamans, is among the most exquisite and symbolically rich examples of world art. This heritage needs to be protected and preserved for future generations to continue to inspire and teach about humanity's past. Great African Sea Forest. The Great African Sea Forest is one-of-a-kind forest of a giant bamboo kelp stretching more than 1,000 kilometers from the coast of Cape Town north to the coast of Namibia. This underwater wonder became widely known after the release of the film My Octopus Teacher, which showed the richness and diversity of its inhabitants. Despite its appearance, kelp is not a plant but a type of algae. The African sea forest is dominated by two species of kelp: sea bamboo Eclonia maxima and split kelp Laminaria pallida, forming underwater canopies. Warming oceans and forcing marine life to adapt, and kelp forests are changing. The Great African Sea Forest, expanding to the east, is home to a huge community of wildlife, including striped sharks, brittle stars, jellyfish, and many unique fish species. South Africa is also famous for its nudibranchia, tiny but colorful sea slugs that add color to the underwater world. Kelp is increasingly being used commercially, including in cosmetics and feed for fish and shellfish farms. Klerksdorp Balls. The Klerksdorp Balls, discovered in South Africa, are striking in their appearance, resembling cricket balls with lines along the equator. Their discovery in pyrophyllite deposits gave rise to theories about the intervention of aliens in ancient civilizations. In the 1980s, it was suggested that the balls were created by a higher civilization. They became the object of study not only by scientists, but also by pseudoscientific theories, some of which attributed them to extraterrestrial origin. Geologist Bruce Cairncross in 2006 proposed a scientific explanation for the origin of the balls, located in a geological layer known as a Dominion group. Klerksdorp balls are nodules formed from minerals that are different from the surrounding rock. Their spherical shape and lines are caused by natural sedimentation processes and the layering of the rock. The curator of the Klerksdorp Museum explained the spontaneous rotation of the ball as a natural physical effect caused by the heterogeneity of the surface and vibrations of the earth associated with gold mining. The Klerksdorp balls have thus become a subject of both scientific and cultural interest, demonstrating the difficulty of interpreting archaeological finds. Great Zimbabwe. Great Zimbabwe is a medieval city that was the center of a wealthy trading empire in Africa, with connections to the Middle and Far East. It served as a trade and industrial hub for the East African coast from the 11th to the 15th century AD. At its height, it was home to about 18,000 people, but only 200–300 of the elite actually lived in its large-scale stone structures. Great Zimbabwe's legacy has long been distorted by colonialists who believe the city was too developed to have been created by Africans. Significant looting by Europeans in the 20th century has also made it difficult to understand its true roots. The word Zimbabwe means stone houses in the Shona language. Great Zimbabwe is the largest of these places. The city was part of a large trading network where archaeologists have discovered pottery from China and Persia as well as Arab coins. Today, the ruins are divided into three architectural zones: the Hill Complex, the Great Enclosure, and the Valley Complex. The Hill Complex was probably a religious center. The Great Enclosure, with its imposing granite walls, may have served as a royal residence or a symbolic granary. At its peak, Great Zimbabwe employed thousands of goldsmiths and artisans. The city was surrounded by more than 4,000 gold and 500 copper mines, contributing to its wealth and prosperity. Great Zimbabwe became the heart of an extensive trade network, including trade in gold, ivory, copper, and tin. The fall of Great Zimbabwe is most often attributed to a lack of food, pasture, and natural resources, but the exact reason remains unclear. Lydenburg hats. Between 1962 and 1964, a boy in Lydenburg and Mpumalanga, South Africa, discovered strange pieces of pottery washing out of a ravine. These pieces were assembled and recreated into 7 hats known as the Lydenburg hats, which are the earliest known examples of Iron Age art south of the equator. The hats, dating back to 500 AD, were used for ceremonial purposes by the ancient inhabitants. Lydenburg hats consist of 2 large ones and 5 smaller ones. They have a rough texture and range in color from red to golden orange. All 7 hats have holes, indicating possible use in rituals or as part of a costume. Scientists believe that the hats were created by the Bantu, who were engaged in agriculture and metallurgy. Excavations and anthropological studies have refuted suggestions that the hats were made from human skulls, confirming their ceramic origin. The most ancient religion. In Botswana, one of the southern African countries, archaeologists have stumbled upon amazing traces of ancient ritual worship dating back to a period of about 70,000 years ago, which is the earliest evidence of the religious practices of Homo sapiens. This discovery, made by Professor Sheila Coulson from the University of Oslo, overturns traditional ideas about the history of religion and culture. In the Kalahari Desert lies Sodilo Hill, a place surrounded by the myth of the Sand People. It was here, in a small cave, that a huge stone shaped like a python was found. Hundreds of notches imitating snakeskin were found on it. Excavations near the python stone revealed findings that amazed scientists. 13,000 tools were working with stone and stone spearheads brought here from afar, possibly as offerings. These finds indicate complex ritual practices of ancient people. Of particular interest is a small depression behind the stone where scientists suggest a shaman could be located during rituals, creating the illusion that the voice comes directly from the python itself. Only 2 rock paintings were found in the cave, an elephant and a giraffe, which also has a symbolic meaning associated with local myths. Revered among the Sun people, the python is associated with the origins of humanity and is believed to be the creator of ancient riverbeds that curved in search of water. Thus, archaeologists may have found the very first mentions of religion. The Sahara wasn't always a desert. About 10,000 years ago, the landscape of the famous Sahara Desert was completely unrecognizable. A new hypothesis suggests that humans could be involved in changing the ecological balance. Today's Sahara, with its endless sands, was green, filled with lakes, rivers, meadows, and even forests. Archaeologist David Wright had suggested that it was humans and their domestic animals that may have triggered this dramatic ecological transformation. The study showed that the appearance of shepherds with animals coincided with changes in vegetation, as if turning everything around into a desert. Wright argues that transhumans may have reduced atmospheric humidity and accelerated the process of aridification, which is not explained solely by changes in the Earth's orbit. These nomads could also use fire to cultivate the land, which only intensified the process of desert formation. Geologist Jessica Tierney points out that the Green Sahara would still turn into a desert even without human intervention, due to changes in the Earth's orbit. At the same time, natural factors and changes in the amount of dust may be responsible for the sudden transition. Research suggests using mathematical models to compare the environmental impacts of nomads and herders. These studies will help to better understand how humans influence the environment today. Scientists are planning to drill into dry lake beds in the Sahara to analyze pollen and sea data and compare them with archaeological data. Eye of the Sahara and the Lost City of Atlantis. The Eye of the Sahara, also known as the Rishat structure, is an impressive geological formation in the Sahara Desert in Mauritania. This is a giant circular structure with a diameter of about 50 kilometers, clearly visible from space, which is how it got its name. It is assumed that the Eye of the Sahara was formed as a result of natural processes, in particular the uplift of the Earth's crust and subsequent erosion. Some researchers have considered it as the possible location of the legendary lost city of Atlantis, described by the ancient ancient Greek philosopher Plato. According to Plato, Atlantis was an island nation located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the modern Strait of Gibraltar, which had a highly developed civilization and suddenly disappeared as a result of a catastrophic flood around 9600 BC. Over time, the idea of Atlantis has fueled the many generations of explorers, writers, and enthusiasts. Some theories claim that the Eye of the Sahara fits the description of Atlantis due to its circular shape and the presence of fringe structures that could correspond to Plato's descriptions of the concentric canals and islands of Atlantis. However, scientific evidence indicates that the reshad structure was formed by natural geological processes and not by human activity or disaster. Despite the lack of direct evidence of the existence of Atlantis, the mystery of this mythical city continues to excite the minds of scientists and lovers of mysticism. The Eye of the Sahara, despite its natural environment, remains one of the most mysterious and visually unique places on Earth, attracting the attention of researchers and tourists from all over the world. Another fantastic and mysterious territory in Africa is ancient Egypt. I talked about it in more detail in my previous video. Be sure to check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next video on the channel.